Carretera Austral, one of the world's most spectacular, if lesser known road trips. It traverses 800 miles of remote Chilean Patagonia, passing through virgin rainforest, snow-capped mountains and arid grassland. It offers everything from active volcanoes to vast ice fields and glaciers, from wild rivers to dramatic brooding fjords. The route was planned in the 1970s to provide road access to southern Patagonia. It remains a work in progress, travelling through isolated, sparsely populated terrain. This is a challenging drive. Some sections are little more than a gravel track, pitted with potholes. Steep drop-offs and unstable rock faces can be inches from its edge. It demands intense concentration. We start our journey at the southern tip of Chile in Punta Arenas, where we collect our rented camper van. Our first challenge is getting to the southern end of the Carretera. With no road connection through Chile, we have two options: a long road detour through Argentina, or a 2.5-day ferry journey through the Chilean fjords. We opt for the fjords and head to Puerto Natales to catch the weekly ferry that connects with the Carretera at Puerto Yungay. A voyage through the fjords offers a rare opportunity to see a part of Chile that is mostly inaccessible by land transport. But this is no pleasure cruise. The Cruz Australis ferry is a vital lifeline for communities near the southern end of the Carretera, and an important link for road transport to and from the southern tip of Chile. The ship's facilities are somewhat Spartan, but clean and efficiently run. There's an aircraft-style cabin with reclining seats, but we opt to sleep in our van. 3 meals a day are provided in the small dining room. There's no choice, but you won't go hungry. From the upper deck, the views are magnificent. But one thing you need to know about this part of Patagonia: it rains a lot. It's day 2 of our voyage, and we are making an important stop at the extraordinary village of Puerto Iden. The arrival of the Cruz Australis is always a big event here, and it looks like the entire population of around 170 has turned out to greet us. But they have come to collect much needed supplies. Hemmed in by huge glaciers, Puerto Iden is only accessible by sea. It is one of Chile's most isolated communities. The village has no roads. Boardwalks and wooden steps connect its houses and shops. This is home to some of the last of the Cuesca people, who were the original indigenous inhabitants of this region. A nomadic seafaring people, they travelled and fished in large canoes that could hold an entire family. Although now settled on land, boats and fishing still play a vital role in the community. As the laden boats head homewards, we continue on our journey. Puerto Eden is reported to have the highest frequency of rainfall in the world, but the rain has held off for our visit. But later in the day, the weather worsens. Thick cloud descends. As we steam north through the Messier Channel, an eerie sight emerges from the mist. The freighter Leonidas, wrecked here in 1968 while taking a valuable cargo of sugar from Brazil to Chile. The story goes that the captain, having sold the sugar en route and pocketed the money, decided to sink the ship to cover up for the theft. The Messier Channel is one of the deepest fjords in the world, but instead of sinking to the bottom, the ship became stuck on a submerged rock. Questioned about the missing cargo, the captain is alleged to have said it had all dissolved when the ship was wrecked. Our first stop along the Carretera is Cochrane, at the southern end of the Parque Nacional Patagonia. Here we get our first opportunity for a hike in the mountains, with views of Lake Cochrane and the crystal clear waters of the river. An endangered species of deer, the wemmel, lives in these mountains. But today this elusive animal is staying under cover. Further north, in the grasslands of the Chacabuco Valley, there are guanaco to be seen. But they too are a vulnerable species in Chile. On leaving Cochrane, the Carretera follows the path of the Rio Baker. The volume of water it discharges, more than 10 times that of the River Thames, makes it Chile's largest river. Around 30 kilometers north of Cochrane, the Rio Nef collides with the Baker in a dramatic clash of colours. The aquamarine waters of the Baker plunge down a roaring waterfall before meeting the murkier brown Nef. The two streams of water flow side by side for a while before the Nef finally merges into the Baker. The stunning Lago General Carretera is Chile's largest lake. Surrounded by the Andes mountain range, nearly half of it is in Argentina, where it is known as Lake Buenos Aires. The lake is fed by glaciers, and that accounts for its astonishing colour. Glaciers erode the rock beneath them, producing a fine-grained powder of silt and clay known as glacial flour. The flour is picked up by meltwater streams and deposited in the lake. The particles are so fine they remain suspended in the water, reflecting back the blue-green light of the sun. On the lakeshore, near Puerto Rio Tranquilo, is an extraordinary sight. Over the course of 6,000 years, waves have carved the rock here into a series of majestic caverns and columns. Known as the Capillas de Mármol, marble chapels, the caves inspire a sense of awe, like you might experience on entering an ancient church. The finale of the tour is an enormous sculpted rock known as the Marble Cathedral. On the road again, we are heading for the small town of Cerro Castillo. The next day, we plan to hike to the peak that towers over the town and gives it its name. The jagged rock spires of its summit look like a medieval castle on top of the mountain. The day of the hike, and we make an early start. Looking up at the climb ahead of us, it's an impressive and slightly daunting sight. Although it's not a technically difficult climb, we're told to prepare for a challenging hike. The trail climbs, steeply in places, for more than 1,000 meters. It'll be a total of about 18 kilometers, including the short road walk from where we'll park the van. But the reward will be views said to rival those of Chile's famous Torres del Paine. After the previous day's exertions, it's a gentle stroll today, along the tranquil Rio Simpson. Beside the road here is a two-tier waterfall known as the Cascada de la Virgen. There's a small shrine dedicated to the Virgin, and motorists tend to hoot their respects as they pass. According to local legend, the falls are haunted by the ghost of a small boy. He emerges from the water, completely dry, and then climbs into your vehicle. But today seems to be his day off. We continue on our way, without any ghostly passengers, to our overnight stop just outside the town of Puerto Aysén. From here it'll be a short drive to Puerto Chacabuco, where tomorrow we'll board a catamaran for a day-long excursion to the San Rafael Glacier. The San Rafael Glacier is the nearest tidewater glacier to the equator and one of the major outlet glaciers of the northern Patagonian ice field. Falling from a height of 3,000 meters right down to sea level, it is among the fastest moving glaciers in the world, advancing 17 meters in a day. The San Rafael Glacier is one of South America's leading natural tourist destinations, drawing thousands of visitors each year. For the Chilean people, a visit is almost a rite of passage, but its future is uncertain. Global warming is causing the glacier to shrink at an alarming rate. The face of the glacier is now a kilometre further back than it was 30 years ago. Another rest day, this time on the banks of the Rio Cisnes, or Swan River in English. The Cisnes flows 160 kilometers from the Andes Mountains near the border with Argentina to the Pacific Ocean at Puerto Cisnes. It's back to rough gravel road today as we head for the Parque Nacional Keilat and one of the highlights of the Carretera. After crossing a dramatic suspension bridge, it's an hour-and-a-half hike on a rough muddy trail through the forest to a wooden platform. There's not much to see on the way, but a stunning view awaits. A hanging glacier, the Ventisquero Colgante, juts out over a high sheer rock face, discharging two waterfalls that plunge down into the valley below. It's a wet drive again today, and we're off to see another hanging glacier, the Yelcho, and a nearby lake that shares its name. By the time we set off on the short hike to view the glacier, the rain has stopped and the sky has cleared, which is just as well, because when it's cloudy, you often can't see the glacier at all. The fjord-shaped Yelcho Lake is a popular destination for fly fishing, but as the sun goes down, it also makes a great spot for a pre-dinner stroll. Chilean, the town that literally rose from the ashes. On the 2nd of May 2008, having lain dormant for several hundred years, the Chilean volcano erupted. Within hours, the town was covered by a 20-centimetre layer of hot ash. An immediate evacuation was ordered, and with the help of the Chilean Navy, more than 4,000 people were taken by sea to safety. But the eruption continued. Over the next few days, a vast quantity of volcanic ash and rock was spewed out by the volcano. Heavy rain swept much of it into the nearby Blanco River, and when the torrent of mud, volcanic material, and uprooted tree trunks reached the town, it buried many buildings to their upstairs windows. Some of them are preserved in this museum that commemorates the eruption. The river dumped the rest of the debris in the sea, moving the shoreline half a kilometre further away. Chilean is gradually recovering. Homes and livelihoods have been rebuilt. Life is returning to normal for its people and its animals. This three-legged dog who still loves to chase cars typifies the indomitable spirit of the town. Today's drive takes us through the beautiful Pumalin National Park, past the twin lakes Lago Rio Blanco and Lago Rio Negro. It is now early April and the summer season is over. The place is deserted. Campsites are empty and some of the hiking trails are closed for maintenance. But it feels like we have the whole park to ourselves. We have a ferry journey today from Caleta Gonzalo to Horno Peren. It involves two coordinated ferries. The first, a 45-minute trip, takes us to Fiordo Lago, where all the vehicles disembark and drive in convoy 10 kilometers across the peninsula to Lep Tepu, where a second ferry awaits to complete the 3-hour voyage along the Fiordo Comal. We are approaching Horno Peren and our last night on the Carretera Austral. Tomorrow, near Puerto Montt, we will turn off and head north towards Santiago and our flight home. Time for a celebratory dinner and a look back on the highlights of an amazing journey.